I stood at the edge of the high school auditorium, my hands clutching a leather journal, watching my grandson, Lucas, stride across the stage in his cap and gown. The crowd cheered, but his smirk caught my eye as he spotted me. At 18, he was all confident, sure he'd conquer the world. A journal, Grandma, he'd laughed earlier when I told him about his graduation gift. What's this, 1800s? His chuckle stung, but I smiled. I was Agnes, 78, widowed, and I'd raised Lucas's mom, Clara, alone after my husband, Frank, died. Lucas thought he knew me, just an old lady with outdated gifts. But he didn't know the journal held a secret, a $1 million bond tucked in its pages, my life savings from years of scrimping. I'd planned this for years, wanting to surprise him, to teach him value beyond flash. The auditorium buzzed, diplomas waving, but my heart raced with anticipation. Lucas thought he'd outgrown me, but this gift would change everything. I gripped the journal, its weight my promise. The stage lights gleamed, and I knew. He'd laugh last, but I'd laugh best. After the ceremony, Lucas bounded over, his grin wide, but mocking. "Where's that journal, Grandma?" he teased, his friend snickering. I handed it to him. The leather worn but sturdy, my fingers steady. "Open it later," I said, my voice calm. He rolled his eyes, tossing it in his backpack. "Sure thing," he said, already turning to his friends. My heart twinged, but I kept smiling. I'd raised Clara in our small farmhouse, saving every penny from my teaching days and Frank's insurance. That bond was my legacy. Not just money, but a lesson in humility. Lucas, spoiled by Clara's indulgence, thought he deserved cars, gadgets, fame. He didn't see me, Agnes, who'd mended his clothes, cheered his games. Back home, I sat on my porch, the journal's secret safe. Lucas texted, "Thanks for the gift, LOL." I didn't reply. He'd find the bond soon, and his laughter would stop. The farmhouse creaked, its familiar hum grounding me. I wasn't just his grandma. I was Agnes, with a plan to shake his world. The stars twinkled, whispering patience. I'd wait for his call, and it would come. The next day, I sipped tea in my kitchen, the journal's secret heavy in my mind. Lucas hadn't called, probably partying with friends. I pictured him tossing the journal aside, its pages unopened. Clara called, her voice warm. "Mom, Lucas loved the ceremony. He's out celebrating." I nodded, silent about the bond. I told Clara years ago about my savings, how I'd invested in a bond for Lucas's future. College, a house, a start. She'd cried, proud. But Lucas? He'd grown entitled, expecting handouts. I found a photo of him at 10, helping me plant tulips, his smile genuine. Where was that boy? I tucked it away, my heart heavy. I visited the town library, where I'd volunteered for years, reading to kids. Miss Ellie, the librarian, hugged me. "You're glowing, Agnes." I smiled, not telling her why. The bond was my ace, a lesson wrapped in wealth. Lucas thought he knew value, fancy phones, fast cars. He'd learn soon. The farmhouse's porch swing creaked, the air sweet with lilacs. I wasn't angry, just ready. Lucas's laughter was a spark, but the bond would light a fire. I waited, patient for his world to shift. A week passed, no word from Lucas. I tended my garden, tulips blooming bright, my hands steady in the soil. Clara called again. Lucas is applying to colleges, she said. He's got big plans. I hummed, wondering if he'd even glanced at the journal. I'd chosen it carefully. Leather, like Frank's old notebooks, with a pocket inside for the bond. It was from 1995, bought with my savings, now matured to $1 million. I'd hidden it, wanting Lucas to find it himself, to feel the weight of discovery. At the library, I read to kids, their eyes wide with stories. Miss Ellie whispered, "You seem different, Agnes." I smiled, my secret safe. Back home, I found Lucas's old drawings in a drawer, stick figures of us fishing. My heart ached, but I set them aside. He thought my gift was a joke, but I'd planned it for years, a test of his heart. The farmhouse smelled of cedar, its walls warm. Lucas's laughter echoed in my mind, but I wasn't hurt, I was ready. The bond was my lesson, and he'd learn it soon. The night air was cool, my resolve firm. I waited, knowing he'd call. Lucas finally texted, "Grandma, this journal's blank." "What's the deal?" I laughed, sipping coffee. "Keep looking," I replied. He didn't respond, probably scoffing. I pictured him flipping pages, missing the pocket. I tucked the bond there, its paper crisp, a fortune he couldn't imagine. I visited Clara, her house full of Lucas's trophies, soccer, debate, all funded by me. "He's so driven," she said, proud. I nodded, silent. I'd given him everything, $10, 000 for camp, $5,000 for his car. Yet he laughed at my journal. I drove to the library, helping Miss Ellie sort books. A kid, Mia, hugged me, her smile bright. "You're the best reader," she said. My heart warmed. These kids valued me, unlike Lucas. I found a letter from Frank in my attic. "Agnes, you teach love." I held it, tears falling. Lucas didn't see my love, but he would. The farmhouse's porch creaked, the stars bright. I wasn't just his grandma, I was Agnes, with a lesson wrapped in $1 million. He'd mocked my gift, but its truth would hit hard. I waited, patient, the bond my secret weapon. The night whispered courage, and I listened. 2 days later, Lucas called, his voice sharp. "Grandma, what's this pocket in the journal?" My heart skipped. "Open it," I said, calm. He hung up, probably fumbling with the leather. I sat on my porch, the journal's secret alive. I'd bought the bond in 1995, after Frank's death, investing $20,000 from his insurance. It was for Lucas, but only if he valued it. I'd told Clara, who'd cried, but kept it from him, wanting him to grow first. Now, at 18, he was spoiled, expecting wealth without work. I visited the library, where Mia showed me her storybook. "It's about you," she said, grinning. I hugged her, my heart full. Lucas didn't see me, but these kids did. Back home, my phone rang. Lucas, breathless. "Is this real?" $1 million. I smiled. "Come over." He arrived, journal in hand, eyes wide. "Grandma, why didn't you say?" I leaned forward. "You laughed." His face fell, but I wasn't done. The farmhouse's walls held me, its warmth my strength. Lucas thought he'd won, but this was my lesson, and it was just beginning. Lucas sat at my kitchen table, the bond in his hands, its numbers staring back. $1 million, he whispered, shocked. I poured tea, my voice steady. "It's yours, but there's a catch." His eyes narrowed. "What?" I smiled. "You'll see." I'd written a letter, tucked in the journal with the bond, outlining my terms. He hadn't read it yet, too stunned. I'd raised Clara on this farm, saved every penny for her, then Lucas. But he'd grown entitled, laughing at my simple gift. I'd planned this since he was born, wanting him to learn value, love, not just money. He fidgeted, waiting for me to explain. I didn't. Read the letter, I said. He left, journal clutched tight. I visited the library, where Miss Ellie showed me a new reading nook, funded by donations. You inspire us, Agnes, she said. I smiled, thinking of Lucas. He'd mocked me, but the bond was my test. The farmhouse's porch swing creaked, the air sweet. I wasn't angry, just ready. Lucas would learn not just about money, but about me, Agnes, his grandma, who'd outsmarted his laughter. The letter was simple. Lucas could claim the bond, but only if he volunteered 500 hours at the library, helping kids like Mia. I told Miss Ellie, who'd agreed to track his hours. Lucas called, angry. Grandma, this is unfair. It's my money. I sipped tea, calm. It's my gift, my rules. He hung up, fuming. I pictured him pacing, the bond taunting him. I'd saved that money through years of teaching, skipping vacations, mending clothes. It was for him, but not without heart. At the library, I read to kids, their laughter healing. Mia drew me a picture, a grandma with a book. That's you, she said. I hugged her, my throat tight. Lucas texted, I'll do it. I smiled. He thought he'd outlast me, but I'd planned this for years. The farmhouse smelled of lavender, its walls warm. I found a photo of Lucas at 5, reading with me. That boy was still in there, somewhere. I wasn't punishing him, I was teaching him. The stars outside glowed, my resolve firm. Lucas's laughter had sparked this, but the bond would change him. I waited, patient, for his first step. Lucas showed up at the library the next week, his face sour, but there. Miss Ellie handed him a stack of books to sort. Start here, she said. He grumbled, but worked, kids watching curiously. I sat in the corner, reading to Mia, my heart steady. Lucas didn't speak to me, his pride stung. I'd written the letter to challenge him, to show him value beyond cash. The bond was his, but only if he earned it. Clara called, confused. Mom, Lucas says you're making him work for the money? I nodded. He needs to learn. She sighed but didn't argue. I found a letter from Frank in my attic. Agnes, you teach with love. I held it, tears falling. Lucas didn't see my love yet, but he would. At home, I sorted old photos. Lucas's first bike, my gift. He'd forgotten those days. The farmhouse creaked, its warmth my anchor. Lucas thought he could laugh off my journal, but the bond was my lesson, not just a prize. The library's lights glowed in my mind, a beacon for him. I wasn't angry. I was Agnes, and I'd guide him 1 hour at a time. Lucas's first month at the library was rough. He sorted books, his sighs loud, but Mia trailed him, asking questions. Why were you here? She said. He muttered, asked my grandma. I smiled, watching from afar. Miss Ellie reported he'd logged 20 hours, slow but steady. I visited the farmhouse, tending tulips, remembering Lucas helping as a kid. He'd changed, chasing status over heart. The bond was my way to bring him back. Clara called, worried. He's mad, Mom. Says it's humiliating. I laughed. He laughed first. I found his old report card in a drawer. A's in math, my notes praising him. My heart ached, but I was firm. At the library, I read to kids, Lucas shelving nearby. Mia hugged him, surprising him. His face softened, just a flicker. The bond wasn't just money. It was a mirror, showing him who he could be. The farmhouse's porch swing creaked, the air cool. Lucas thought he'd outsmart me, but I'd planned this for years. The library's warmth was my guide, the kids my why. I wasn't just his grandma. I was Agnes, teaching him to see beyond laughter. By month 2, Lucas was quieter, shelving books with less complaint. Mia followed him, chattering about stories. He answered, short but kind. Miss Ellie whispered, he's at 50 hours. I nodded, my heart lifting. I'd chosen 500 hours to test him, to make him feel the library's magic. At home, I found a photo of Lucas and Frank fishing by the creek. I taught him patience then. I was teaching it now. Clara visited, her eyes tired. He's changing, Mom. He talks about the kids. I smiled. Good. I didn't tell her how I'd watched him laugh at my journal, how it hurt. The bond was my answer, not just for him, but for me. I read to the kids, Lucas nearby, listening. Mia gave him a drawing, a boy with books. He kept it, his eyes soft. The farmhouse's walls held me, its cedar scent grounding. Lucas thought he'd won with his smirk, but the bond was my lesson, unfolding slowly. The library's lights glowed, a promise. I wasn't punishing him. I was Agnes, guiding him to heart. The stars outside shone, my patience steady, waiting for his change. The parents were praising Lucas. He's a hero. Grandma's gift changed him. He shrugged it off, focused on the kids. I watched him teach Mia to read, his patience like Frank's. My heart swelled. I'd save that bond for this, to show him value beyond money. Clara brought him to the farmhouse, where we ate dinner, laughing like old times. I'm sorry, Grandma, he said, eyes low. I was a jerk. I hugged him. You're my boy. I found his old toy car in a box, one I'd bought him. I gave it to him, smiling. Keep it. At the library, he planned a summer camp, kids buzzing with ideas. Miss Ellie hugged me. You gave him heart, Agnes. I nodded, tears falling. The bond was his, but he was giving back time, love, effort. The farmhouse's porch swing creaked, tulips blooming. Lucas's laughter was gone, replaced by purpose. I wasn't just his grandma. I was Agnes, teaching him love's weight. The night air was sweet, my plan a success. The library's lights glowed, his future bright, and I knew he'd carry my lesson forever. Lucas cashed the bond, but not for himself. He donated half to the library, $500,000 for books, computers, a new roof. Miss Ellie cried, hugging him. You're amazing, she said. He smiled shy. Grandma taught me. I stood in the back, my heart bursting. The other half he saved for college, no fancy cars or gadgets. Clara called, tears in her voice. He's my son again, Mom. I nodded, my throat tight. I found a letter from Frank on my desk. Agnes, your love builds worlds. I wore it like a badge. Lucas was now called the kid who gave back. He didn't read them, busy with Mia's reading lessons. At the farmhouse, I hung his superhero drawing, Mia's gift. The bond was my spark, but his heart was the fire. The library buzzed, kids thriving. Lucas's laughter at my journal was a shadow gone. I was Agnes, his guide, and the farmhouse's walls held me warm and proud. The stars shone, his growth my legacy. He'd learned not just about money, but about love, and I'd never been prouder. The library threw a celebration for Lucas's donation. Kids making banners, Lucas saves books. He blushed, helping Mia hang one. I stood with Clara, watching, my heart full. You did this, Mom, she said. I shook my head. He did. The bond had been my test, but Lucas passed it. He was studying for college now, planning to teach, like me. I found his old school project in a trunk, a story about a grandma's gift. I cried, framing it. The viral story hit 15 million, inspiring donations nationwide. Strangers wrote, "Lucas is a hero." He didn't care, focused on the kids. At the library, he read to them daily, his voice warm. Miss Ellie showed me the new wing, named Agnes's Corner. "It's for you," she said. I hugged her, tears falling. The farmhouse's tulips bloomed, its porch creaking. Lucas's laughter at my journal was forgotten, replaced by his kindness. I was Agnes, his grandma, his guide. The bond was my lesson, but his heart was my victory. The night sky glowed, his future bright. I walked the garden proud, knowing he'd carry my love forever. Lucas started college, majoring in education. He called weekly, telling me about classes, kids he tutored. "You were right, Grandma," he said. "It's about giving." My heart soared. The library's new wing was packed, kids reading in Agnes's Corner. Miss Ellie sent photos, Mia's smile bright. The viral story hit 20 million, comments calling us the grandma-grandson team. I smiled but stayed quiet, letting Lucas shine. I found a photo of him at 3 on my lap, reading. I hung it beside his superhero drawing. Clara visited, her eyes soft. "He's like Dad," she said. I nodded, thinking of Frank. The bond had been my plan, but Lucas's heart was the reward. At the farmhouse, I tended tulips, their colors bold. Lucas visited, helping plant more. "I'm sorry I laughed," he said, eyes low. I hugged him. "You learned." The library's lights glowed, a beacon. I was Agnes, not just his grandma, but his teacher, his guide. The stars shone, my legacy alive in him. The bond was a spark, but his kindness was the flame, burning bright for all to see. Lucas hit 100 hours and something shifted. He read to Mia one day, his voice hesitant but warm. She beamed, clapping. I watched, my heart full. Miss Ellie said he's good with them. I nodded, seeing the boy I'd raised. I'd saved that bond for years, wanting him to earn it, to value more than money. At home, I found a letter from Clara, written when Lucas was born. "Mom, you'll teach him everything." I had, but he'd forgotten until now. Clara called, excited. "He loves the library, Mom." I smiled, silent. Lucas texted, "This is harder than I thought." I replied, "Keep going." He didn't laugh anymore. I sorted old journals in my attic, Frank's handwriting in them. "Agnes, you're my strength." I held one, tears falling. Lucas was finding his strength, too. At the library, he helped Mia write a story, his smile real. The farmhouse's porch creaked, the air sweet with tulips. The bond was my gift, but the library was his lesson. I wasn't just his grandma. I was Agnes, showing him love's weight. The night sky glowed, my plan working. He'd see the bond's truth soon, and it would change him. Lucas reached 200 hours, and the library felt like his second home. He taught kids to stack books, laughing when Mia dropped one. "You're getting it," he said, patient. I watched, my heart swelling. The bond sat in my safe, its secret safe, but its lesson was alive. Clara visited the farmhouse, her eyes bright. "He's different, Mom. He talks about the kids, not money." I nodded, my plan unfolding. I'd chosen the library because it was my sanctuary, where I'd read to Lucas as a boy. He'd forgotten those days, but they were back. I found his old storybook in a trunk, pages worn from our nights together. My throat tightened, but I was steady. At the library, Lucas helped plan a reading event, his ideas bold. Miss Ellie hugged me. You're changing him, Agnes. I smiled. He's changing himself. The farmhouse's walls hummed, its warmth my anchor. Lucas's laughter at my journal was a memory, replaced by his growth. The bond was my tool, but the kids were his mirror. I wasn't punishing him. I was Agnes, guiding him to heart. The stars shone, my patience rewarded, his lesson halfway done. At 300 hours, Lucas was a fixture at the library. He read to kids daily, his voice steady, their eyes wide. Mia called him Book Boy, giggling. I watched, my heart light. The bond's letter was still unopened, its terms his challenge. I'd written it to teach him not to punish 500 hours for $1 million, but really for his soul. Clara called, amazed. He's saving for college, Mom, not spending. I smiled, silent. I'd given him so much, $15,000 for his car, $5,000 for trips. He'd laughed at my journal, but now he was learning. I found a photo of him at 8, reading with me. I framed it, my heart soft. At the library, Lucas planned a book drive, kids helping. Miss Ellie said he's a leader. I nodded, proud. The farmhouse's porch swing creaked, tulips blooming. Lucas's smirk was gone, replaced by purpose. The bond was my gift, but the library was his growth. I wasn't just his grandma. I was Agnes, showing him value. The night air was cool, my plan alive. He was close, and I waited, knowing the bond's truth would hit soon. Lucas hit 400 hours, and the library threw a party. Kids made him a banner, Book Boy rules. He laughed, real and warm, no trace of his old smirk. I stood with Miss Ellie, my heart full. You did this, Agnes, she said. I shook my head. He did. The bond waited, its lesson nearly complete. I'd save that money for him, but only if he earned it. Clara visited, tears in her eyes. He's my boy again, Mom. I hugged her, silent. I found Lucas's old kite in the attic, one we'd flown together. My heart ached, but I was sure. At the library, he read to Mia, her head on his shoulder. He saw me, nodded, no words needed. The journal's letter was still unread, but he was living its truth. The farmhouse smelled of lavender, its walls warm. Lucas's laughter at my gift was a shadow, replaced by his kindness. The bond was my test, but the kids were his heart. I wasn't punishing him. I was Agnes, guiding him to love. The stars glowed, my plan shining. He was almost there, and I waited, patient. Lucas reached 500 hours, and the library cheered. Mia hugged him, her drawing of him as a superhero pinned to the wall. He looked at me, eyes soft. I get it now, Grandma. I smiled. Read the letter. He pulled the journal from his bag, finally opening the pocket's flap. His jaw dropped as he read my terms, then saw the bond. $1 million, he whispered. I nodded. Yours, if you keep giving. He hugged me, tears falling. Clara cried when I told her, proud. I'd planned this since he was born, wanting him to value heart over wealth. At home, I found a letter from Frank. Agnes, you teach forever. I held it, my throat tight. The library was alive. Kids reading, Lucas helping. His laughter at my journal was gone, replaced by gratitude. The farmhouse's porch creaked, tulips bright. The bond was my gift, but his change was my victory. I wasn't just his grandma. I was Agnes, showing him love's worth. The night sky shone, my lesson complete. Lucas was ready, and I was proud, my heart full of his growth. Lucas kept volunteering, even after 500 hours. He read to kids, planned book drives, his smile real. Mia called him her big brother. I watched, my heart soaring. The bond was his, but he hadn't cashed it. I want to earn it, he told me. Clara visited, amazed. He's saving for college, Mom. He's changed. I nodded, my plan working. I found a photo of Lucas and me baking cookies at 5. I hung it in my kitchen, my heart soft. At the library, Miss Ellie showed me a new wing, funded by donations inspired by Lucas's story. You started this, she said. I smiled. He did. A local news crew filmed Lucas reading, the story going viral. Millions of views, comments calling him the kid who learned. He didn't care about fame, just the kids. The farmhouse's walls held me, its cedar scent grounding. Lucas's laughter at my journal was a memory, replaced by his heart. The bond was my lesson, but his growth was my legacy. I was Agnes, his guide, and the stars outside shone bright as his future.